Elijah Carter had spent 78 years tending to the land that had been his family for 3 generations. His farm, a sprawling stretch of Georgia soil, was more than just a livelihood. It was a legacy. He had seen droughts and storms, good seasons and bad, but nothing had shaken him quite like the day a patrol car rolled up his dirt driveway, kicking up dust that settled over his fields like an omen. The rhythmic hum of crickets and the gentle rustle wind through the cornstalks were replaced by the sharp clunk of car doors slamming shut. 2 officers, Reynolds and Davis, stepped out, their pressed uniforms crisp against the rural backdrop. Their presence alone set Elijah's teeth on edge. "Afternoon, sir," Reynolds said, a smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. Elijah wiped his hands on his overalls and nodded. "Afternoon, officers. What brings y'all out here?" Davis adjusted his belt, his hand resting casually near his holstered gun. "Routine check. Got some reports about zoning violations, improper waste disposal, maybe even some unpaid fines. We're here to help you sort that out." Elijah frowned. He knew every inch of his farm like the back of his hand. There were no violations, no fines. This wasn't a visit. It was a shakedown. "I ain't got no fines, and I keep this place up to code," Elijah said evenly. Reynolds exchanged a glance with Davis. "Well, that's not what the records say," he countered. "Could be a mistake. But, mistakes like this take time to fix. Unless you're willing to expedite the process." Elijah's jaw tightened. He knew exactly what they were doing. He'd heard rumors of these 2 officers shaking down small businesses and farmers, but until now, it had been just that, rumors. "I don't pay for mistakes I ain't made," he said firmly. Davis's smirk disappeared. "Suit yourself. We'll be back." They left in a swirl of dust, but Elijah knew this wasn't over. And sure enough, they returned the next day. Only this time, they weren't just talking. They kicked over equipment, inspected his barn with exaggerated scrutiny, and took notes on a pad like they were building a case against him. By the 3rd visit, their demands became clear. Pay up, or his farm would be buried in so many violations that he'd never recover. Elijah's hands trembled as he counted out the cash that night. He had never been one to back down from a fight, but he was old now, alone. Who could he turn to? The answer came in the form of a late-night phone call. "Dad, what's going on?" Marcus Carter, Elijah's only son, had left Georgia years ago, trading the slow rhythm of farm life for the sharp precision of federal law enforcement. Now he was a senior FBI agent, stationed in D.C. His voice was steady, but Elijah could hear the concern woven into it. "Just some trouble with the law," Elijah admitted, keeping his tone light. Marcus wasn't fooled. "What kind of trouble?" Elijah hesitated. "Some local officers been making things hard, saying I got violations, want money to make 'em go away." There was silence on the line, then Marcus's voice low and firm. "Don't give them another dime." Elijah swallowed. "Son, I don't, Dad. I mean it. I'll handle this." And he did. That night, Marcus dove into Reynolds and Davis's records. What he found made his blood boil. Complaints, financial inconsistencies, unreported cash deposits. They weren't just harassing his father. They had been running this racket for years, preying on small business owners and farmers too afraid to speak up. Marcus wasn't just going to stop them. He was going to take them down. Marcus wasn't the kind of man who acted without a plan. He had built his career in the FBI on precision, patience, and persistence. He knew that taking down corrupt officers required more than just anger. It required undeniable proof. So he started gathering it. Late nights in his D.C. office turned into a deep dive into local records, pulling up complaints from business owners who had mysteriously closed up shop. Financial reports told a story of money flowing in from sources that didn't add up. Marcus made calls to old friends in the bureau, compiling a case file that would make any prosecutor salivate. But it wasn't enough. He needed something indisputable. He needed to catch them in the act. So Marcus took a leave of absence from his post and flew back to Georgia. The moment he stepped foot on his father's farm, the memories of his childhood came rushing back. The smell of rich soil, the warmth of the sun on his skin, the way his father's hands always seemed to be covered in dirt, but never looked weak. He wasn't just here for justice. He was here to protect the man who had raised him. The next morning, when Reynolds and Davis rolled up again, Elijah was ready. "You got the money, old man?" Reynolds asked, stepping out of the car with an air of smug confidence. Elijah glanced toward the porch, where Marcus stood with his arms crossed, watching. "Nah," Elijah said simply. "I don't." Davis stepped forward, his face darkening. Wrong answer. Before he could move, Marcus's voice cut through the air. "Touch that barn, and it'll be the last thing you do." The officers froze. Davis turned, sneering. "And who the hell are you?" Marcus stepped forward, pulling his FBI badge from his pocket. "I'm the man who's been watching you. I've got enough evidence to put you both away for a long, long time." Reynolds' face went pale. "You can't. I can. And I have." At that moment, unmarked vehicles pulled up to the property. FBI agents stepped out, weapons drawn. Hands where we can see them. Reynolds and Davis barely had time to react before they were forced to ground, their wrists bound in cuffs. The town had been watching. Neighbors emerged from their homes, stepping out to witness the downfall of the men who had terrorized them for years. Elijah stood quietly, watching it all unfold, feeling the weight of weeks of fear finally lift from his shoulders. Marcus walked up to his father, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It's over, Dad. They won't bother you again." Elijah nodded, a small smile forming. "Told you this land was worth fighting for." The arrest of Reynolds and Davis sent shockwaves through the town. More stories emerged. Stories of harassment, extortion, lives ruined by two men who had hidden behind their badges. Investigations widened. The corrupt sheriff who had allowed it all to happen was forced to resign in disgrace. A new police chief was appointed. Reforms were put in place. And Elijah's farm? It became a symbol of resilience. Neighbors who had once been divided by fear and prejudice came together, helping to repair the damage done. They rebuilt fences, fixed the barn, and tended to the fields. One crisp autumn morning, Elijah stood on his porch, watching children harvest pumpkins for the local school. The air was filled with laughter instead of fear. Marcus walked up beside him. "You did it, Dad," he said quietly. Elijah smiled. "No, son, we did." Because justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about rebuilding. It was about healing. And together, they had made sure it would never happen again.